Hello, everyone. How are you today on this wonderful Sunday afternoon, evening, morning? Not quite sure where you are. Probably not morning. It's probably Monday morning if you are, and you might be getting up. But hey, this is Dadman Walking 55 saying hello to you today on this nice ninth day of October, at least here where we are in this part of this world. Just love just another great day to be alive and enjoy everything that we got around us. Just wanted to say hi. And today we're going to bring you a recap of week 6 action in our 2022 College Football Weekly with Dadman show. We're going to talk a little bit of college football today, review our picks that we had with our special guest that we'll talk about in just a moment. And, maybe if we get some questions, we may talk some general football. We may look at the AP Top 25. We may do a little look forward to next week, but we'll see what happens today. And, like I said, it'll be a fairly short show, but, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. If you have questions about how polls work, you have questions about teams, that's what I'm here for. And I'll try to do my best to answer whatever questions you may have, because we are live today with this recap show, and we'll see how we are stacked up this week. The guest against the Dadman. So, and we have one Mrs. Dadman, the beautiful Mrs. Dadman Walking 55. Hello, my love. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do to help keep us going around here. She's the real. She is the real heart of the operation and the things that get things done around here. So everything you see with the graphics, that's her beautiful work. Aang, though, creates this nice avatar, this combination of my banana Fortnite skin and a football. So, hey, thanks to Aang for doing that. So, taking a look at the calendar today, I just realized something that really stuck out to me. And it's funny, as I get older, I swear it seems like time flies faster and faster. When I was younger, college football season seemed to take forever to get here. Then it took forever to get done. And then it was back to another off season. But as I get older, I swear it feels like the season goes faster. The off season goes faster. You turn around, it's the next season. Because looking at the calendar today, we just completed 6 weeks of 13 weeks in the SEC conference, the Southeastern Conference. Next week will be week 7, which means with next week's games, we cross the halfway point for the season. Amazing how fast it flies. Some teams are having very good years. Some are having some not so good years. Some are having some predictable years. We might take a look at that for a few minutes here as we come up here, and look as we go through the slides that we have. With that said, thank you for everybody that's here. Thank you that if you watch this in replay, if you're just lurking, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We'll talk about all of our social media and our outlets at the end of the show, but feel free to please support the show, through liking and subscribing. And if you're around for the chat, throw something in. If I can address it, I'll try to address it. But we'll have fun with this today. With that being said, we're going to take a look at what we have this week, from starting with the prior week's games. But first of all, what we want to do here is we want to remind everybody we're not a gambling site. We don't pretend to be professionals, me, the host, or the guests that I have. We're doing this for fun. We're not picking against spreads, points, or anything like that. We are just people having fun and just picking the games for the hell of it. And sometimes we do pretty darn good. With a previous guest, Mark D with a C, who still holds the record at a perfect 12-0. And there's some that are not so good weeks. But hey, we have fun no matter what. So just remember, don't take it so seriously. Don't rely on this for any prognostications or actual. Don't bet your mortgages on it. Not us. So We are not responsible. We're just people having fun. So, with that said, we're going to look today at where we stand overall, week 6. And as I said, we're approaching that halfway point this season. Next week, we'll cross that line. This week, for week 6, we had a very, very knowledgeable guest from college football. I suggest that you go back and watch our show from Friday night. It is both on twitch.com, twitch.tv, Dadman Walking 55, and also here on YouTube. You can find the video to it. But we had the great, awesome, kind of a rival of mine, and a spur in my heel guy that I really enjoy and play a lot of Fortnite with, that Gen X guy. And you can see I kind of have the banana from Fortnite, and he's got Gilded Guy with a few customizations there with that red X. So 2 of the brightest Fortnite costumes out there, but we love it. We have fun, and we have similar tastes. So what would, we'll see where we stand now with me and my buddy Gen X. So we'll take a look. First of all, we're going to look at where everything situates in the Southeastern Conference overall through 6 games. Everybody's played 6 games except for Tennessee, which is only played 5 games. When we look through and analyze, we see some expected results. We see some very surprising results when we look here. First, not to be surprised, is we've got Georgia and Alabama with perfect records overall and in the conference action with no losses. That's not surprising. They're where they should be. They're ranked 1st and 3rd in the nation, respectively, Georgia and Alabama. There's some other not so surprises, like Vanderbilt and Missouri at the bottom of the SEC East. We see some kind of expected also in the East with South Carolina, Kentucky, and Florida all at a 1-2 record, kind of middle to below middle of the pack, which a little surprising with Kentucky with 2 conference losses, but they played Saturday night without their starting quarterback, Will Levis. So, and which they lost to South Carolina at home. A little bit of a surprise is Tennessee at 2-0 in the East, with upcoming games against Kentucky and Georgia. A little surprise, not a great surprise, because a lot was expected out of Tennessee this year. There's a lot more turmoil in the Western Division, though. As we mentioned earlier, Alabama is perfect, 3-0, 6-0 overall record. Sort of a surprise that the second and third place teams in the division, though, with Ole Miss still undefeated, 2-0 in the conference, 6-0 overall, and LSU at a 2-1 record with a 4-2 overall record. LSU just having come off a loss to Tennessee at home, but not really an unexpected loss there. But another big surprise is Mississippi State at 2-1 and 5-1 overall. So you've got basically LSU and Mississippi State in a third place tie behind Alabama and Ole Miss. Action between Mississippi State, Ole Miss at the end of the year, Alabama a few weeks from now. See what happens. But the top 4 is a pretty decent surprise for a lot of people. Auburn is about where it's expected at 1-2 overall in the conference, near the bottom, but they're still at 500 overall with the overall record. The biggest surprises are the teams that are in the bottom of the SEC West, with Texas A&M at 1-2 in the conference and Arkansas at 1-3 in the conference. Arkansas having lost 3 straight games to conference foes, putting them way at the bottom, way behind the division leaders. Arkansas had been up and coming the last few years. A lot was expected this year, but close loss to Texas A&M did not help their cause. Losing to Mississippi State on the road, not quite unexpected, but another loss that they couldn't afford to have. And losing had a close game with Alabama last week. Pulled within 28-23, and then until Alabama ran away literally in the fourth quarter with a 70-yard run by the quarterback to set up a touchdown, a 72-yard touchdown run, and a 76-yard touchdown run by one of the running backs. So that's a quick way to ruin your season. It's what's happened with Arkansas. Can they turn around and salvage a season and a decent record? Still a lot left. They have the weaker part of the schedule coming up. It's very possible, but definitely not what a lot of the Hog fans had expected or hoped for this year. So that's where everything sits in the Southeastern Conference after week 6. Over on the AP Top 25, there's remains 6 teams in the top 25. That's down from as high as 8 a few weeks ago. You have 4 in the top 10 with Georgia on the top spot, Alabama 3rd. Tennessee is moving up 2 more spots to 6th overall. Ole Miss at 9th, Mississippi State at 16th, and Kentucky falling 9 spots to 22nd. Of note of this is some upcoming games this week and in the future involving the top 6, the 3 teams in the top 6. Georgia and Tennessee play it in the first week of November. This weekend is a huge matchup where Alabama goes to Knoxville to play Tennessee. This is a vital game for both teams for pride, if not anything else. This is a big rivalry game between these 2 schools. It's a telltale sign to see if Tennessee is really back and legitimate. Although they beat Florida home a few weeks ago, they had an impressive win at LSU. Can they beat one of the big guys, which is Alabama? And this game will be at home for for Tennessee. So this is a huge game this week at 3:30. This is the game of the week to watch. I definitely will watch it, even though my Gators will be playing it in the evening. And then in a few weeks, as I mentioned, Georgia and Tennessee rumble in Athens, and a lot of key matchups coming in the next few weeks. And as you noticed, Ole Miss at number 9, they will have a date with Alabama coming up soon themselves. So it's a lot of interesting football coming up. We're over halfway through, as I said, but there's still a lot of good football remaining. And this is the part of the season where we really get into some of the rivalries and some of the better games and the better matchups when these teams get higher rated and they've worked out some of the kinks, and as I mentioned, teams like Texas A&M and Arkansas that have completely flatlined this year and really having a bad season. Kentucky's one of those teams that if they could turn some things around, can still have a decent team, but losing 2 games already, having a hurt quarterback, there's no telling. Kentucky may have a very disappointing season if they can't turn things around on the offensive side of the ball. Of note in the AP Top 25, nationally, we have Ohio State finally passing either Alabama or Georgia into the 2nd spot. Clemson, who people had started to write off a few weeks ago, is still hanging in there at 4th overall after some impressive wins when people had written them off, thinking Wake Forest was going to upset them. And the offense came to life. Michigan, Big Ten, it's setting up for another great game into the season with Michigan and Ohio State in the season. USC has turned around with their new head coach that came from Oklahoma. Even though they fell a spot, they're still undefeated in the Pac-12. And then you got teams like Oklahoma State and Penn State actually rounding out the top 10. Penn State, kind of interesting, the 5-0 this year, but how will they play? How would their final results be as they start playing some of the other bigger teams in their conference? UCLA is another surprise team at 6-0. There have been a lot of talk about pressure on the head coach, but this year UCLA is seeming to have on track to have a great season and end of the year matchup between UCLA and USC. The Battle of Los Angeles. Oregon is rebounding from the early season loss to Georgia. TCU's moved up. And then you see some more ACC teams here, Wake Forest, NC State. Syracuse is a huge surprise now being in the top 25. Held to my friend Mark D with a C, who, with his son at Syracuse, a big 5-0. What can they do in their conference games? And Kansas, basketball school, but is 19th in the nation now at 5-1. Even though they lost to TCU this week, they did not move up or down with that loss. Kansas is a huge surprise because up until last year, they may have won one or two games in certain seasons. So it's like the Vanderbilt of the Big 12. So they've turned it around for a very, very good season so far. And then we see some other lower, schools, Utah, Cincinnati, Kentucky. Texas moves in the top 25 this week. The team that nearly knocked off Alabama at home in the second week of the season. And I tell you what, Austin, Texas, damn, that'd be a hell of a place to go watch a football game because those people were really rocking out there in that game. That was a fun game to watch, and Alabama squeaked out a win there, but damn, that was crazy watching that stadium that day. So, and Illinois is another surprise joining the top 25, another school that has struggled in recent years. But now seemingly to turn things around now back in the top 25. And James Madison from a very small conference that's barely in the bowl division series, but they're 5-0 and they've made it in top 25. So, hey, they're your presidents. Anyway, that's a recap of the top 25. So with that, let's see where we stand with the picks from last week. In 3 games that Gen X and I agreed, the teams won that we picked, which was Alabama over Texas A&M, Georgia over Auburn, and Ole Miss over Kentucky. We agreed with those games and got them correct. There were 2 games that we both agreed, but we were wrong in the predictions. One, South Carolina beat Kentucky on the road, as we said earlier. And the second was that Mississippi State at home trounced Arkansas pretty good. They had plenty of cowbells going that day. I heard it on the broadcast. So, like I said the other night, if you want more cowbell, let's see if I can talk. If you want more cowbell, I can't do Christopher Walken. I won't even try. But if you want more cowbell, go to Starkville, Mississippi. Or have them come to your town if they go to a bowl game. They'll bring the cowbells to you if you need a cowbell. Which then leaves us with 2 other games that we disagreed on, and that came down to this week's results. One was the Tennessee at LSU game, and the other was Florida hosting Missouri. And Jen took LSU at home. I took Tennessee. Florida, I took. Missouri, he took on the road. Both good picks. Either game could have gone either way, but both I got correct. Tennessee beat LSU more comfortably than expected, and Florida once again struggled at home to beat Missouri, which is very frustrating as a Gator fan. But hey, they a win's a win. They pulled it out. So, interesting week of action. So if you see, we'll look at the results overall for the week. I was 5 right, 2 wrong. Jen was 3 correct, 4 wrong, which overall moves us Dadman at 50 correct, 12 wrong, and our guests combined are 41 right, 21 wrong. So it's been some up and down weeks, and we've had some good picks over the weeks. And at the bottom with this, what is really neat with the bottom here is that we're recapping each of the guests that were on those weeks. The first week was Mrs. Dadman Walking, who was our guest. The second week was Squeak a Mouse, who had the power of cheese with the predictions. The third week was the engineer himself, Mr. Statistician, who was a perfect 12-0, Mark D with a C. The next week was a great Culture Casino. 1 game separated us. And then last week was my buddy Rambling Canuck, and we talked a lot of Canadian football. So if you go back, look at the previous shows. We had some very interesting shows, very interesting guests. Go back on Twitch and YouTube, find these videos. Even if you don't watch the football parts, focus on the parts where the guests talk about themselves and what they think about football and their experiences. Some very fascinating conversations that we've had along the way. And we still plan to have more coming down the road. So, with that, we tease this week's show. It's moving back to its normal time on Thursday night at 8 p.m. SEC College Football Weekly with Dadman. Our current guest to be scheduled is none other than the great Clobberin Times. He's scheduled at this point. But for Thursday at 8 p.m., 7 Central. With that, check us out on various platforms. Find the latest when I go live, when I say whether it's a Fortnite stream, a show and tell stream, a history stream, or anything else with football. Check me out on Twitter at DadmanWalking55. And as I mentioned several times also, we're over on Twitch at twitch.tv, DadmanWalking55. If you're over there, follow us on that platform. And on YouTube here, we're at DadmanWalking55. And over here, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share it out. Help us promote the channel. We're trying to get to 100 subscribes on YouTube. And because a friend of mine, Mark D with a C, says to get the little Twitter label up, the YouTube later instead of a code. And also, we talked last night on a Fortnite stream about possibly doing a 24-hour stream and celebrate reaching 100. Maybe I promised too much with that one, but we'll see. We got ways to get there. We'll have fun along the way. And I thank you all for being here. Watch on replay. As I mentioned, follow me on Twitter. Check out previous videos on Twitch and YouTube. And just follow us and help us grow the channel. And, hopefully you enjoyed this today. Whether you're lurking, whether you watched it live, whether you watch it on a replay later, thank you for everything you do. And I'm glad you're here. And hope to see you next time. And like I said, watch Twitter for when we go live with something that may not be football related, but if not, we'll see you Thursday night. And with that note, I want to say goodbye, good night, have a great rest of your weekend, and take care. Bye.